If you watched the last video, you already know that weak legs after 50 are almost never just a muscle problem. The real drivers are nervous system signal loss, hip shutdown, and a confidence loop that quietly takes over. But here's what comes next. Before you do another squat, another walk, another stretch, there is one thing you need to do first. And that thing is this. You need to reconnect your brain to your body. That's what this is. And that's what this video is about. Here's why this matters so much. When most people hear they have weak legs, their first instinct is to exercise more. And exercise does matter. But not yet. Not before this step. Because if your brain isn't sending clear signals to your leg muscles, and if your hips have gone quiet, then exercising is like pressing the gas on a car that isn't getting fuel. You'll burn energy. You'll feel tired. But nothing moves the way it should. Research has shown that people who spend even 2 to 3 weeks rebuilding their brain muscle awareness before starting any strengthening program see dramatically better results than people who skip straight to the exercises. In plain terms, that means a few weeks of simple attention can make everything you do after it work the way it's supposed to. That's not a small thing. So the question isn't whether you should exercise, it's what has to happen first. Let's talk about what's actually going on inside your body right now. And let's keep it real, not clinical. When everything is working the way it should, your brain sends a signal down to your leg muscles every time you stand, walk, or shift your weight. That signal tells the right muscles to fire in the right order at the right time. You don't think about it. It just happens. But over time, especially if you've been sitting more, moving less, or just aging naturally, those signals start to get weaker. They arrive late. Some don't arrive at all. And your body compensates. It pulls in other muscles to cover the gap, muscles that weren't built for that job. Your knees start taking more strain. Your back tightens. And your legs feel heavy, unstable, or disconnected. Here's what that feels like in everyday life. You stand up from a chair, and it takes more effort than it used to. You walk across a parking lot, and your legs feel less reliable than they did a year ago. You hesitate at the top of the stairs, not because they're steep, but because something feels slightly off. That feeling? That's the signal breaking down, and it's the first thing you need to address. Now here's where most people get stuck. They know something is wrong. They feel it, but they don't know what to do about it. That doesn't involve pushing harder or doing more. So let me give you something different. The thing you need to rebuild first is called recruitment awareness. And all that means, in simple terms, is the ability to feel which muscles are actually working when you move. That's it, not a complicated concept, but a powerful one. Because if you can't feel your muscles working, you can't correct how you're using them. And if you can't correct it, no exercise in the world is going to fix the problem underneath. Think of it this way. If you've been driving with one tire slightly flat for months, you've adjusted without realizing it. Your steering is off. Your ride is rougher. But it became your normal. Rebuilding awareness is like finally checking your tires. You have to see what's actually happening before you can do anything about it. Research suggests that most people over 50 have already lost a significant amount of this awareness without ever noticing. They move through their day without any real sense of which muscles are doing the work. And that's exactly how the decline stays hidden. So here's what I want you to actually do, starting today. Not a program, not a routine, just 3 moments of attention spread through your normal day. The first one is standing up from a chair. The next time you stand up, don't just stand. Pause for 1 second after you're up and ask yourself, did my hands help me get here? Did my knees do most of the work? Or did I feel my hips and my backside actually lift me? Most people, the very first time they try this, are surprised. They had no idea their hips weren't contributing. Their body has been quietly compensating for months, maybe years, and they never felt it. That moment of surprise? That's awareness turning on. And that's exactly where this process starts. Studies have shown that how you stand up from a chair is one of the strongest predictors of long-term leg strength and balance. It's not a trivial movement. It's one of the most important ones in your day. And here's a quick rehook, because I know this might sound too simple to be the answer. But simple doesn't mean easy. And simple doesn't mean it doesn't work. Some of the most powerful changes in the human body start with paying attention. That's what's happening here. The second moment is walking. The next time you walk, even just down a hallway, try to feel your backside, not just sitting there, actually working, pushing you forward with each step. If you can't feel it, that's important information. It means your glutes have gone quiet. And when your glutes go quiet, your knees absorb the load they were never meant to carry. That's a big reason why so many people over 50 feel knee pain during walking, even when there's no real damage to the joint. The joint isn't the problem. The system around it just stopped doing its job. So don't walk more. Not yet. Walk with more attention. That's the shift. The third moment is standing on one foot. Find something to hold on to. A counter, the back of a chair, a door frame. And stand on one leg. Just for a few seconds. Not to impress anyone. Not to test yourself. Just to feel. Which muscles activate? Where does the effort come from? Is it your hip holding you steady? Or is it your ankle and knee working overtime? Research has found that this one simple act of standing on one foot with conscious attention to what you're feeling is one of the fastest ways to wake up the nervous system pathways that have gone quiet. Studies suggest people who do this consistently start to notice a real difference in how their legs feel within 2 weeks. 2 weeks of just paying attention. Now let's connect this back to your hips, because this is where the biggest gap usually is. And it's also where the biggest shift is waiting. Your hips are supposed to be the engine of your lower body. But if they've been quiet for a while, they don't just disappear. They wait. The muscle is still there. The nerve pathways are still there. What's missing is the signal telling them to wake up. And here's the good news. That signal comes from exactly what we've been talking about. Awareness, intention, attention. Every time you stand up and feel for your glutes, every time you walk and notice whether your back hip is pushing you forward, every time you shift your weight and check whether your standing hip is holding you steady, each one of those moments is a tiny signal to your brain. It says, this muscle matters. Start using it again. And here's what that actually looks like in your day. You're not adding a workout. You're not clearing out 30 minutes. You're just changing how you pay attention during the things you're already doing. Stand up from the couch, and instead of just standing, you check in. Walk to the kitchen, and instead of just walking, you notice. It takes seconds. But over days and weeks, those seconds add up, and your nervous system starts to respond. Research on how the brain rebuilds motor pathways has shown that this process works well into the 70s and 80s. Your brain doesn't give up on your muscles. It just stops prioritizing pathways that aren't being used. Your job is to make it prioritize them again, and you do that by using them. Even if the use is small, even if it's just noticing. Studies have found that consistent, small acts of intentional attention produce faster neural recovery than occasional bursts of intense effort. Slow and steady isn't just a saying here, it's how your nervous system actually heals. Here's another moment to stay with me, because I know the middle of a video like this is where a lot of people drift. But this part matters, so bear with me for just a little longer. A lot of people over 50 carry a quiet fear underneath everything else. Not just the fear of falling, the fear that it might be too late. That the damage is already done and nothing is going to change it. I want to address that directly. If you do nothing, the decline does continue. That's what the research shows. But here's the other side of that same research. This decline is not locked in. It can be slowed, it can be stopped, and in many cases it can be meaningfully reversed. Not through extreme programs, through exactly this: attention, awareness, small intentional shifts in how you move every day. The people who maintain their strength and independence into their 70s and 80s aren't doing something extraordinary. They're not running marathons or lifting heavy weights. They're doing something most people skip entirely. They're paying attention to how their body moves. They notice when something feels off. They check in with their hips. They stay connected to what their legs are telling them. And over time, that attention becomes a kind of protection. It keeps the signal alive. It keeps the system working, and it keeps the decline from quietly taking over. So no, it is not too late. But starting sooner matters more than starting perfectly. This video is educational only. It is not medical advice. If you're dealing with significant leg weakness, pain, or balance problems, please talk to a doctor or a qualified healthcare professional. They can rule out anything serious and help you build a plan that fits your situation. What we've covered today is about understanding the general process, not diagnosing it. Let me leave you with this. You don't need a new exercise program today. You don't need to push harder or do more. What you need is to start seeing what's actually happening when you move. 3 moments. Standing up, walking, standing on one foot, each one a small window into how your brain and your body are communicating right now. That's this. That's the first step. And everything that comes after, every movement, every exercise, every strengthening work you'll do in the future, builds on top of it. Without this foundation, none of it works the way it should. With it, everything does. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to take this awareness and turn it into action. Safe, supported movements designed to wake up your hips and rebuild your nervous system connection. No standing required if you're not ready for that. No strain, no guessing. Just intentional movement that picks up exactly where we left off today. If this felt useful, if something clicked, you're in the right place. Leave a comment and tell me which parts stood out. I read them all, and it helps me shape what comes next. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.